sometimes people look at my background and they're like, wow, you're a fighter pilot, that's cool. And you're a Thunderbird pilot, that's kind of elite. And then they look at me like I have a third eye and they're like, you're a woman Thunderbird pilot. Like, I'm not sure what to say about that. But with a straight face, people have honestly looked at me and asked, what's it like to be the best? And I immediately laugh and I laugh because I, Nicole Malachowski, have never individually been the best at anything that I've ever done. But I have been a part of some of the best teams. And I learned over time that these best teams, these elite performing teams, have a certain mindset. And it's what I like to call the pushing the envelope mindset, which is what I'd like to share with all of you today. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to somebody very important to me. Feast your eyes on that. That's a beautiful piece of technology. It's also a piece of flying software. That is the mighty F-15E Strike Eagle. I think it's the greatest fighter aircraft that's ever been invented, but I am biased because that's the jet I flew across the majority of my career. All right, so I flew in 3 operational F-15E squadrons. I commanded a squadron of F-15Es, which we'll talk about later. And that is the jet that carried me and my friends safely in and out of combat more times than I could count. She is a beast, and yes, it's a she. All right? Don't forget that. And I know you have all heard this term pushing the envelope before. It does, in fact, come from aviation. It's all about taking the aircraft to its maximum capabilities, bringing out its maximum performance. Let me tell you a little bit more about this beautiful F-15E, all right? She's capable of flying upwards of 50,000 feet, pulling 9 times the force of gravity, and flying twice the speed of sound. That's some pretty extraordinary capabilities, wouldn't you agree? Yeah? And people ask me a lot, Nicole, what was the thing you're most proud of in your Air Force career? The assignment or the thing you did. And they think I'm going to say combat. They think I'm going to say flying with the Thunderbirds or working in the White House, and it's none of those. The single greatest thing that I got the most satisfaction out of, that I'm the most proud of, was teaching brand new pilots, brand new lieutenants, how to fly and employ this aircraft. And one of the greatest things you get to do is take a kid up on their very first flight, right? They've been dreaming about this, most of them, since they were 5 or 6 years old, just like I did. And every single time I would take a new pilot up on their very first flight, they would all do the exact same thing. So imagine, they're in the front seat, I'm in the back, they're shaking, both nervous and excited. I take the aircraft off, we get safely away from the ground, we get out into the training airspace, and I say the words they've waited their whole life to hear. You have the aircraft. And in that moment, they timidly shake the stick, and you hear their voice crack, and they say, I have the aircraft, right? Just like I was nervous my first time. And every single time, these young pilots on their first flights would do the exact same thing. They'd take that beautiful F-15E with all those capabilities, and they would fly her at 25,000 feet, 250 knots, and pulling 2 Gs. Like, what a waste, right? Like, what a waste of extraordinary capability. And so when I talk to you today, and I mentioned this pushing the envelope mindset, I want you as individuals to think of yourself as this F-15E. I want you to think of the teams that you're on, the teams back home that you're leading, as this F-15E. I want you to think of this membership and partnership here with CQ Partners as this F-15E. The pushing the envelope mindset says, am I bringing all of myself to my team every day? And as importantly, am I creating an environment where my teammates can bring all of themselves and their strengths and skills to work every day as well? And I found over time that these pushing the envelope teams, these elite performers, they all tend to have a certain set of characteristics and traits, and those traits are courage and trust and vulnerability. Now, none of this surprises you, right? But what I hope to do today is share a few stories from across my career that highlights these traits and maybe gives you a slightly different lens or a slightly different paradigm to not only look at your own challenges through, but I think to look at your own opportunities and advantages through, all right?